Now, one of the first things you want to do if you're representing parties in mediation is pick a good mediator. So we should understand what is it that the mediator does? What makes a good mediator? Now, mediators do all sorts of things, and we've got some imagery here to think about it. You know, are mediators peacemakers? Do mediators help us foster understanding? Are there dollars involved? Are they helping us come to that dollar deal? Are they bridging the gap? Solving a problem? We've got the little puzzle pieces. Are they balancing justice and harmony and essentially stopping the fight, making peace? Mediators do all these things. And in order to do it, mediators play a role that's been differently characterized by different mediators, different theorists of mediation. So back in roughly 15, 20 years ago, in the 90s, Professor Len Riskin wrote a piece that he called a Grid for the Perplexed, in which he took a look at mediator orientations, the mediator's sense of what it was they were doing, what they were focused on. And what he found was that some mediators tended to be facilitators. Those mediators saw their role as essentially helping the parties help themselves, not telling the parties what to do, not telling the parties who's right or who's wrong or what makes sense, but helping them think for themselves about what's important to them, about what kind of deal might make sense, and about what might happen if the matter does not get resolved, what the alternatives are to the deal that they are engaged in trying to form, trying to create. They facilitate the communications and reflections of the parties with each other and about oneself and the other. And that facilitative role, Riskin saw, was what many mediators had as their orientation. Now, some of those mediators were narrowly focused. They focused just on the case, maybe helping parties think about the case. Others were a bit more broadly focused, helping parties think about the case and the business context. And yet others were even more broadly focused, bringing in personal relations and emotions, and even broader to think about values and the community values and the whole big picture. So there are the narrowly and broadly focused facilitators, and Riskin found there were also mediators who were oriented more towards being evaluative and directive, telling people who's right or who's wrong, or what makes sense in a deal, or telling people what to do. You ought to settle this case at X. Evaluative or directive, do this. And those two could be narrowly focused, talking just about the case, or even broaden their way of looking at the world and what is okay to talk about in mediation.